Welcome to another episode of the Southern Boating Podcast. I'm Ian Sneed.
I'm James Anderson.
And today we have a great episode for you. We're going to be talking about Riviera's new flagship, the M6800 Sport Yacht Platinum Edition.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll be the second topic we talk about. We're going to kick it off with some legislation that's affecting Florida boaters.
Right.
Whether you live here or you vacation here and boat while you're out here.
Or if you're just transient through the area.
Right.
It's going to affect you.
Very important that you guys get wind of what's going on. It could really affect you in a way you would not enjoy. So before we do that, remember to subscribe to the channel. Click the like button.
Oh, I thought you were going to use the other term.
Smash the like button.
Smash the like button.
Smash the like button. Okay, I'm going to put a like button right here. Smash that. No, you got to do the one on the actual thing. That won't work.
There you go.
Yeah. And with that, let's just jump into it.
So yeah, I mean, let's go over this.
All right, we're doing the other one first.
Yes.
Sorry, I had my notes for the Riviera.
Oh, yeah. No. We need to tackle what's most important first.
Legislation that is threatening your right to anchor in Florida.
This is going to be new legislation that could be very dangerous to the boating community, the boating industry as well. Mm-hmm. And just in general, it's not really legislation that's tackling the issue at hand. And that's the problem.
And so the conversation around the legislation that we're going to talk about, and I'll put up the bills on the screen so you can see what the bills are as we talk about them, but we'll talk about each one in somewhat detail for you. The conversation around it is derelict boats.
And we do have some current laws that try and fix those situations because they're unsightly, they're not safe to be there, they could be hazardous to the marine environment and many different things. But the state is looking at possibly voting in some new laws that would try and take care of the situation, but at the same time, will harm our boating community, and that is not appropriate.
So I'll start off by saying there's a link in the description if you want to go into all the details. We're going to hit, I think, some main points.
We'll go over the three bills.
Yes. Right? But to kick it off, I want to say what appears to be happening is they want to, instead of enforcing current laws, which are proved to be effective, they're proposing these blanket laws that essentially turn what would be a law-abiding boater into somebody that is now in violation of one of these new laws.
Right. Also making it difficult for us to conform to these laws because it's talking about returning this to the local communities. So local municipalities returning these law decision-making abilities to the local municipalities and or counties. Now you're going to have to know all of these different laws, they could all of them be different with their rules.
So where you're following a law in, say, Palm Beach County, you're now breaking one in Miami, right? Or vice versa.
Exactly.
It turns into a patchwork of legislation that makes boating a nightmare. It really does. So, and back in 2006, it used to be this way, and they changed it to
and they changed it back.
So for the people that don't really understand why that would be such a bad thing, imagine every county that you drove through had different laws for how you drove in that county, right? Yeah. Can you make a right on a red light? In this county, yes. In that county, no. You know, can you take off at a certain speed? Well, believe it or not, in this county, it's actually illegal to take off at a certain speed.
And they could make it even more confusing because it could come down to the local municipality, which would make it,
almost neighborhoodly.
Yeah, pretty much.
Neighborhoodly, but not neighborly.
You would have to literally have a book that thick to know everything. And that's just ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. So let's jump into the first bill.
So that's HB 481. And it is titled The 30-Day Rule That Could Sink Boaters. HB 481 would limit anchoring to just 30 days in any 6-month period in counties with a population over 1.5 million or areas designated as critical state concern. Where I get concerned with this is, just like the article says, is there are people that are anchored here in some of these locales because they're waiting on weather windows, repairs, or other things that they're trying to get done. And that'll impact these people and impact, the amount of traffic that we get too. We want them here. We want people to come visit Florida, enjoy our waterway,
Yeah, instead of bypassing us because
Exactly right.
headache.
And not only that, we will see a lot of this because we still have a significant shortage of slips available to people and mooring locations, right?
There's mooring balls that have multiple weeks of a waiting period before you can actually use the mooring ball.
And just to give you an example, in this article, it states that there are over 500 boats at anchor in Biscayne Bay alone, right? That's a lot of boats. And it's also partly what I always think of is the iconic image of Biscayne Bay, seeing all of those boats at anchorage. To me, it's a beautiful sight. Other people are disagreeing, and those are some of the people pushing this bill. So, because they don't like the sight looking out of whether it be their condo, their office, whatever it may be, their house on the water, and seeing all these boats at anchorage. Well, you know what? You don't own the water.
That's right. And it would create wildly inconsistent because a lot of the stuff gets kind of thrown together in knee-jerk reactions. We see that all the time with legislation. It's knee-jerk reactions, and then years later they realize, oh, this was actually more detrimental to us than what we had. We should have done this other way, taken this other course of action to fix it.
Well, not only
it's too late at that point.
But if these people are required to move constantly from one anchorage location to the next, that's a lot of movement. Requiring them to move every couple of days or every day, that can create a safety issue, right? Jockeying all these positions around, well, that's not good. Right. There's accidents are gonna happen.
And not just that, but there's also a greater environmental impact doing it that way versus now if we could stay at anchor, it's much less so.
Exactly right.
So let's move on to the next bill. It's a state Senate bill, 594.
SB 594, expanding no anchoring zones around seaports. Senate Bill 594 would impose a 5,000-foot no anchoring zone around seaports, including Port of Miami, Port Everglades, Port Canaveral, Port of Tampa Bay, Port of Jacksonville, Port of Palm Beach. Now, here's where I have a problem with this. 5,000 feet, that is just shy of a mile. A mile around the seaports.
Yeah.
That is way too big of a zone. I'm sorry. I can understand a reasonable area around some of these seaports, like we do with down at Port of Miami, Port Everglades. Understandable, right? But a mile
is ridiculous. And the thing is, this article, he points out, they have no justification for the restriction. It's just a number that they threw out.
Yeah. How is it a security risk at over a mile?
Like, it makes zero sense.
Or at just a mile, right? I mean, come on. That's absolutely ridiculous.
This is not a safety concern. This is not a security concern. This is quite literally an arbitrary, if we don't want derelict boats anchoring, then let's just stop all anchoring. It doesn't make any sense. The logic here falls apart the second you start to poke at it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. When I read 5,000 feet, I'm going, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And I started thinking, I would really like to put this on a map and show people how big of an area that will impact, because it's going to be a lot larger than most people think.
Yeah. Now, one thing I want to say is, whether you agree or disagree with us, leave a comment and let us know why. Because here's the thing. We're coming from this with our experience, and maybe you have a piece of information that would benefit us and create a more educated conversation among boaters. So if you have a comment on either of these bills so far or the next one coming up, leave it and let us know what you think we should know about the situation.
Now, the last one that we're going to discuss is Senate Bill 164. Florida proposed SB 164 introduces a new long-term anchoring permit for vessels anchored 14 or more days within a 30-day period. While this is intended to address derelict boats, the rule may create unintended challenges for responsible boaters waiting for a mooring ball like we talked about, or waiting on safe passage somewhere.
Right.
How many times in the summer do we have a week or more of bad weather? Right. Or even thinking about it, if they're going beyond the Bahamas, they might have a 2-3 week sitting here waiting for, safe weather so they can passage as hurricanes come in, as tropical storms go by, all of these different things. So again, we're talking about, you may put boaters, because you're trying to handle one situation by restricting those responsible boaters, you may force them to put themselves in harm's way.
Yeah.
And that's not appropriate.
No, not at all. And you touched on it, I'm not trying to create an us versus them kind of a situation.
No.
Like, it's not like the homeowners and condo owners versus boaters. And like, I get that it's not that.
But it needs to be fair.
But it does need to be fair if it's addressing derelict boats. If that's really the concern, then why not start by further enforcing what's already on the books?
Right.
Right. How do we know that that's being enforced to its full effect at this point? Versus, well, you know what? I'm not happy with the results so far. So guess what? I want to support this blanket bill that's going to restrict other people of their freedoms. It doesn't make sense to me because anchoring it's a legal right under both federal and state law.
Correct.
So it makes no sense.
To take it away is just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So the real reasons behind this is you heard us mention it several times. I believe that it's state, local municipalities, and or others trying to influence their local legislature at the state level to get rid of these derelict boats, right? And I understand that. They're unsightly. They're unsafe. They could be causing economic harm. But at the same time, why are we going to put those that are observing the laws and regulations and doing things appropriately, why are we going to hurt them? And we shouldn't. And the big thing is how this could impact our industry. Just to give you an idea of how big the marine industry is here in South Florida, it's $23 billion of economic impact from the marine industry.
Yep.
That is a big, big number. This is a huge part of the Florida economy.
And to apply these restrictions may very well cut into that cash flow flowing through.
Because people are going to skip over Florida now.
They're going to skip over Florida. Marinas are going to suffer. The waterfront businesses are going to suffer. Towns where quite literally you go and there's a huge boating population, like all of that's going to get skipped over. And that is such a huge influx into our economy.
Exactly right. Instead, they'll be going directly to the Bahamas or they'll go up the coast to Georgia, South Carolina.
Yep.
And guess what? That's not what... they want to come down here for a reason. Let's keep them coming.
So the last thing I want to touch on is in the article, there's smarter solutions that are listed in there and action that you can take, like what you can do if this situation isn't something you want to enjoy.
Before we go over that, let's talk about some of the current rules and laws that are in place.
Yeah,
right?
That's fine.
There's 3 that they should be enforcing. Those include the propulsion test. So a boat must be able to propel itself. Okay. The at-risk vessel determination. So is this vessel at risk or to itself and or others, right? And then the other one is the vessel turn-in program, where these people can turn in the vessel as well.
Right.
And there's things that go along with that as well. There are options already out there in place currently to help with the situation. We just need to make sure that local and state officials enforce these current laws that are on the books.
Yep.
So we don't have to adopt these rules that are going to hurt boaters across the board.
Yeah. I agree.
You can go back now. I just wanted to make sure that we went over that.
With that, make sure to make sure to read the article. I'm linking it in the description. There's steps in there of things you can do if this is something that you want to voice your opinion on.
Yeah.
And
there's several ways that you can do this. This is call your local representative, right? Your state representative. These are state laws, not federal, that we're looking to impose. You email your legislators, right? And then there's a couple of other ways that are in the article as well. So please, guys, if we could get you to help us with this, these are things that we do not want to go in place. I mean, at least I do not personally. No. I think it's not helpful. It's not the way to go about it. If we all make ourselves heard, then hopefully this doesn't get passed.
Exactly.
So the next one,
with that,
let's talk about a boat.
Something a little more luxurious than
we've actually been on this boat.
We have been. Yes, it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Absolutely. So the boat that we're talking about is Riviera's new 6800 Sport Yacht Platinum
Edition.
Platinum Edition.
I love that. I love that. I love the branding that Riviera.
They do a really good job. They really think things out.
So off the top, right, length overall 72 feet 9 inches with a beam of 18 feet and 3 inches.
Correct.
And the boat feels as big as it sounds. It really does. Awesome.
I mean, the one that we saw, I was very impressed with. It's definitely a boat that you can use for entertaining. It's got tons of entertaining space.
Tons.
It's absolutely, the one that we were on was actually equipped for an individual already that was definitely a very active person because he was into diving.
Yes.
Right? And he was a real Australian. His boat was already over here. They were using it to display.
Yep.
And I thought it was very interesting. But talking about everything in this boat, it just, I mean.
So let me touch on the entertaining part, because that's I love that stuff, right? So I'm going to start with the aft deck. This is quite literally made for like entertaining and dining, like 100%. There's an extended hardtop, which can provide all-weather protection, right? There's a guest lounge that extends across the width of the transom. There's a forward and to port, there's an L-shaped lounge that also has a little dining area. And there's still tons more features for comfort just in that aft section. It's incredible. The alfresco galley that connects to the U-shaped galley inside, right? So you can, you can lower the electric window and open the door.
It really creates an open space.
Just huge,
just wide
massive
open
space. Massive living space. It's incredible. And then I don't know if you want to talk about the salon or what's your point?
Keep going down your list.
Let's go. Okay. So the salon has handcrafted solid timber fold-out table, which creates more, I guess, dining space for guests.
It does. And it allows you to go from a smaller table to a larger table to entertain even more people.
Exactly, which I thought was, when we were there, fantastic, right? It looks so sleek. It's incredible. All the staterooms and heads enjoy natural lighting because they have its large tinted windows, but it allows for natural light to come in, which when you're, in a cabin and you can get natural light, like that's nice. The full beam master has a penthouse style ensuite with a walk around king berth.
Yeah, you remember this?
Yes.
And then it had the pass through too out to the cockpit, or really to the swim platform.
You're right.
And, that to me was really cool because you can actually come in and it has that little, what could be a crew cabin.
Right.
Or you could make it an equipment room, which the individual that we saw, that's what he was doing because he likes to dive. He can then come in right out of the ocean, take his equipment off, store it, and get washed up, and not track everything through his boat.
Right.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, because he's straight into the room.
It's like having a mud room in your house, but now on your boat.
It was a really cool feature. And then the swim platform, it's not what I was going to talk about next, but now that we're there, let's talk about that.
This is one that I love seeing this because it's really innovative, right?
Right.
And we now have seen it on some other boats. I won't name who, but I've seen it on other boats now too.
But it's an electro-hydraulic swim platform that you can drop down to turn it into essentially a step so that you can get out of the water easier, or you can raise it up in a way where it can help with boarding when you're boarding from a dock.
So if you're med mooring and you're entering from the aft through the stern, you can actually have that platform raise up so it's at the dock level and then the steps down onto the boat.
Exactly.
So really offering you a next level of safety, ease of boarding.
Right. And it can also double as a balcony, which
they dubbed it a balcony, right?
Yeah.
Pretty creative.
Very creative. The forward VIP stateroom has a walk around queen berth.
Correct.
Right. So the master, or is that what it's called? The master. Yeah. The master has the king walk around, and the VIP stateroom has a queen walk around. So they're both massive when it comes to space.
Yeah.
Like when you think about that, and if you're entertaining and you bring somebody on and they're getting a queen berth also, like that's awesome.
This boat really felt much larger than it actually is. And I was very impressed with how they utilized all of the space throughout the boat.
Yeah.
Very, very impressive. I think they did an excellent job on this one.
Yeah.
It's one of the best Rivieras I've seen
It's
yet.
incredible because, we haven't even talked about the tender garage, state-of-the-art technology that they have on it.
There's so much more.
Like, there's so much. We could have probably an hour-long episode just going through every little detail that they put onto this vessel.
There's a lot of details.
It's incredible.
So maybe next time that we're on board, we'll have to do a walkthrough video.
Yeah, maybe we should.
Yeah,
that'd
possibly.
be good.
So watch out for that.
Yeah.
So until next time, I'm James Anderson.
I'm Ian Sneed.
We'll see you next week.